Once upon a time in a land where Europe meets Asia, there lived a very smart and brave leader named Osman. He was honest, fair, and very religious. As he led his people with kindness and wisdom, more and more people started to follow him. His group became a powerful force and soon they had their own kingdom. Everyone loved this kingdom. It was like a big family where everyone respected each other and worked together. But one day, a greedy neighbor tried to take over their land. Hearing this, Osman's son, Orhan, quickly assembled an army. All the men from the villages gathered together to defend their homes and families. They were outnumbered, but they fought bravely. In the end, they won. This victory made everyone in the kingdom proud. And so they named their leader Orhan the Victorious. After Orhan, Osman's grandson, Murad, took over. Murad loved his people and he wanted them to be happy. He fixed roads and built new farms and shops. Soon, everyone was making money and life was good. After Murad, his son, Bayezid, became the leader. One day, 3 powerful neighbors attacked Bayezid's lands. They wanted all his gold and silver. The soldiers from these 3 places kept coming, but Bayezid and his soldiers fought them bravely. Again and again, they pushed the enemies back. Finally, the enemies gave up and went home. Everyone cheered for their brave leader. They called him Bayezid the first because he had saved the kingdom from the 3 sides. After Bayezid, his son, Mahmud the Conqueror, took over. Now he had a plan to capture a very important city. It was a very strong city with thick walls. Many rulers before him had tried to capture it, but they failed. The city's name was Constantinople. It was the capital of the Byzantine Empire. Most of the people there followed the Christian faith. The Muslims and Mahmud's army believed that capturing this city would please God. So they thought this was a holy mission. Mahmud trained his soldiers for years, and finally they were ready. They traveled by boat to the city. On one side of the city, the water was very deep. So Mahmud's ships could not get close. But that didn't worry him. He built giant cannons and pointed them at the city gate. The cannons roared. They shot and shot again until the gate broke. Then Mahmud and his soldiers walked through the broken gate. The people in the city panicked. They closed the other gates, but it was too late. Mahmud and his soldiers had already entered the city. The Byzantine emperor tried to escape by boat, but Mahmud's soldiers chased him and caught him. The soldiers brought Mahmud to the palace. It was a beautiful building with many treasures. He took some of the gold and silver and gave it to his soldiers. The rest, he kept for himself. After capturing Constantinople, Mahmud changed its name to Istanbul. Soon, Istanbul became the most beautiful city in the world. He built many great mosques, schools, and markets. There were merchants and traders from many lands. They sold many things, from spices to silk. In the evenings, the streets were filled with music and laughter. It was a great time to be alive. After Mahmud, his son, Selim the Grim, took over. He had a lot of work to do. You see, long ago, when Murad built farms and shops, the people had to pay taxes. They didn't like paying taxes. So now they refused to pay. They said they'd rather die of hunger than pay taxes to Selim. Selim didn't want to hurt his people, but he needed the money. So he asked them nicely again and again to pay taxes. But the people refused. So Selim had no choice. He led his army to their villages. His soldiers surrounded the villages, and when the people came out of their homes, they arrested them and threw them in jail. Then they took food and supplies from the villages. The people were sad, but they understood why this had to be done. After Selim, his son, Suleiman the Magnificent, took over. He ruled for 46 years. He was a very wise man. He knew how important it is to be fair. That's why he made laws that were good for everyone, rich or poor. He made sure the people of Istanbul could fish and hunt in the nearby lakes and forests. He wanted everyone to have food. If there was a famine, he used his treasure to feed the hungry people. He appointed judges to make sure everyone was treated fairly. Once a rich man accused a poor man of stealing some apples. The judge heard both sides of the story and then asked the rich man, "If you have so much money, why do you want these apples?" The rich man thought about it and said, "I don't need these apples, but I can't stand it when someone accuses me and gets away with it." The judge said, "Then pay the poor man back what you paid for the apples and let him buy more apples with your money." The rich man agreed. The judge turned to the poor man and said, "You must work for this man for 1 month and then he will pay you back for the apples." The poor man was surprised, but he agreed. For a whole month, he worked for the rich man. At the end of the month, the rich man gave him his wages and added a little more. Then he said, "Now go and buy as many apples as you want." The poor man smiled. Suleiman built beautiful palaces for himself and his family. He liked living in a palace called Topkapi Palace. It had many rooms and courtyards. But his favorite place was the library. It had many books and maps. Suleiman spent hours reading them. After Suleiman, his son, Selim II, took over. Things weren't the same anymore. Many people stopped following Suleiman's laws. They started arguing and fighting with each other. They did bad things, like throwing garbage on the ground and not helping the poor. Also, the great library started to lose its fame. Not many scholars and scientists came to Istanbul to read books anymore. Instead, they went to other cities where there were more opportunities. After Selim, his son, Murad III, took over. Murad was a very religious man. He prayed 5 times a day. He was sad to see that people had forgotten their traditions and ways of life. So he wrote letters to everyone, asking them to return to the old ways. Some people listened to him, but most didn't care. They thought he was just another weak leader. They kept doing bad things, like robbing shops and houses. One day, Murad's brother, Ahmed, got angry. He took an axe and killed Murad. After Ahmed, his brother, Mustafa, took over. He ruled for only 3 months. Then Ahmed came back and took Mustafa's place. But Mustafa wasn't sad. He knew that one day his son, Osman, would become the leader. Osman was very smart. He knew many languages. He also knew how to read and write. When Osman took over, he was only 13 years old. His grandmother, Safi, helped him rule the empire. She took care of the treasury, the money, and the taxes. She made sure there was enough money to pay the soldiers and to help the poor. Under her leadership, things slowly got better. After Ahmed, his son, Ibrahim, took over. He, too, was a very religious man like Murad III. Ibrahim noticed that more and more people were becoming Christians. He didn't like this. He wanted everyone to follow Islam. He ordered that churches be turned into mosques. He also built new mosques all over the empire. After Ibrahim, his brother, Mehmed, took over. It seemed like the empire was getting weaker and weaker. Mehmed didn't know how to read or write. He spent most of his time hunting and having fun. While he was hunting one day, he saw a wolf eating a deer. The deer was still alive, but its leg was broken. Mehmed felt sorry for the deer, so he approached it and asked, "What happened to you?" The deer lifted its head and said, "A bird swooped down and tried to eat me. I struggled and broke my leg. Then this wolf came and tried to eat me. I struggled again and here I am today." Mehmed realized that the deer had been brave and clever, and he admired that. From that day on, he tried to be braver and smarter. After Mehmed, his brother, Mustafa, took over again. Mustafa wasn't interested in being a leader. He spent most of his time smoking and having fun. He didn't care about the empire or its people. After Mustafa, his nephew, Abdul Hamid, took over. He was only 17 years old and no one took him seriously. They thought he was just another spoiled young prince. In the year 1876, the people had enough of the leaders who didn't care about them. They wanted a new leader who would make their lives better. So they asked Abdul Hamid to step down and named his brother, Murad, the new leader. Murad was kind and cared about his people. He made schools and hospitals for them. He also built new roads and bridges. The people loved Murad. They thought he would make their lives better. But one day, some soldiers came to Murad's palace. They told him that they had an order from the king of another country. The king wanted Murad to leave the palace and give his throne to his brother, Mehmed. Murad didn't understand. The soldiers grabbed him and took him away from the palace. They put him in a small room and locked the door. No one knows what happened to Murad after that. Some say he died in that room. Others say he escaped and lived the rest of his life in hiding. After Murad, his brother, Mehmed, took over. He, too, was a good leader and cared about his people. But it was too late. The Ottoman Empire was no longer the same. Other countries had become stronger and were taking over their lands. In the year 1922, the soldiers came to Mehmed's palace again. They told him that they had an order from the king of another country. The king wanted Mehmed to leave the palace and give his throne to his son, Osman. Mehmed didn't understand. After Mehmed, his son, Osman, took over. He was only 18 years old and no one took him seriously. In the year 1924, a country which used to be part of the Ottoman Empire declared war on them. They fought for 2 years, and in the end, the Ottoman Empire lost. The soldiers came to Osman and told him that he had to step down and give his throne to someone else. Sad and disappointed, Osman agreed. The Ottoman Empire was over. So the story of the Ottoman Empire lasted for more than 600 years. It's a long time. That's why it's important to remember the good leaders and what they taught us. Let's see what we can learn from the story of the Ottoman Empire. When the Ottomans first started their kingdom, their leaders were kind and cared about their people. They made laws that were good for everyone, and they kept their promises. Because of this, people respected and loved them. They chose them as their leaders because they were just, fair, and kind. As the Ottoman Empire grew bigger, their leaders started to forget what made their kingdom great. They took advantage of their power and forgot about the people. They started to fight with each other and with other countries. This made the empire weak. Another thing we can learn from the story of the Ottoman Empire is that it's important to respect other people's faiths and cultures. The Ottomans were Muslim, but they respected Christians and Jews. They allowed them to build their houses of worship and practice their religion freely. This made the empire more diverse and stronger. We can also learn that it's important to invest in education. The Ottomans built schools and encouraged people to learn how to read and write. This helped them to become a strong empire. And finally, we can learn that it's important to adapt to change. The Ottomans were able to grow and change with the times. They were able to accept new ideas and customs, and they were able to defend themselves against outside threats. So what will you remember from the story of the Ottoman Empire? Which lesson will you take with you?